Hi, and welcome to AI for Government Contractors. A little fun topic this week that Mike and I will be talking about. Hi, I'm Josh Hirsch, and my partner in crime, as always, Mike. How you doing this morning, Mike?
Hey man, I am awesome, Josh. It's Friday and I'm feeling it.
You're feeling because you had unblockers this week, and a lot of unblockers came about. Once again, we're recording this. It's March 6th. For those that don't know, yesterday was a huge day in the world of AI. OpenAI released their 5.4 model, and from everything I've seen so far, it is blowing away the other models from the other platforms left and right. I'll admit, ChatGPT Homer, I was a day one, November 22nd, 2022 beta user of it. What's great is that I've been able to utilize other tools, I've been able to use other modalities. At the end of the day, if you understand strategic thinking, creative thinking, and logic, it doesn't matter what tool you're using because you can be effective with the way you're working with the computer. You have to have that right mindset, and that mindset can hold back a lot of organizations. And Mike and I, before we jumped on here, he was telling me a conversation he was having this week just about that resistance he was experiencing from some clients he was working with previously.
Yeah, so I'll kind of set up the story, right? So, obviously Josh and I, are founders here at GovStrat AI, and GovStrat AI is a very, very AI forward company. So much so that our actual goal is to do as much of the company and the build as possible without humans. Now, that doesn't mean we're not increasing headcount, but the reality is that we try to make a lot of the work done by AI because, hey, it's an AI company and this is what we teach our clients how to do. However, I also have other companies, right? So again, I'm a serial entrepreneur and I have other companies, and we had a conversation in one of my operating companies this week, and the conversation went like this. Hey, executive team, I am promoting a certain person on staff, and their job is going to be to begin integrating AI as fast as we can into these key areas of the company to make dramatic improvements. And I said to them during that conversation, I said, hey, so the first thing to understand is there was unbelievable, virtually unexpected pushback from multiple executive team members that I was not prepared for. It was stressful. As a CEO, as a leader, it actually stressed me out. And, it wasn't like revolt level, like, what are you doing? But it was like, I know you have this great idea and you want us to run with it, and we have serious resistance to this. So, what ensued was an hour-long conversation that was a complete and total, detour from what I wanted to accomplish in the meeting with my executive leadership team. And, I had to kind of walk them back off the ledge. So, one, I think, Josh, I don't know, and again, you've got, a fairly similar situation in other entities that you're working with, but, talk to us a little bit about what happens when people in the company begin. Oh, and there's one other thing, right? March 6, 2026 is today's date. About a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, there was this big major endorsement out of this company called Block, run by Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey, Twitter fame, super famous entrepreneur out in Silicon Valley. Jack Dorsey cut 40% of his workforce. I mean, like cold turkey, cut 4,000 of his 10,000 employees. And the rationale given was, what do I need these people for? AI has advanced in our company to the point where we literally just don't need this many people. And there goes 40% of my workforce. Dramatic reduction. What does the stock go? The stock goes through the roof. Positive reinforcement. So everybody's on edge, but everybody at the top wants to adopt. So, again, Josh, you work with, many organizations that have come to us to talk about adopting AI, but can you talk a little about some of the resistance that you're getting and how you're overcoming that?
Yeah, I saw it live in person. I think it was just last week. I was doing a presentation, doing one of my AI boot camps for an organization, and about 20 or so people in the room, different levels of staff. Executive leadership was like, now, let's throw AI at it. We know that we need this. We don't know how to use it, We don't know how or why we should be using it, but we know we need to because we want to save time, we want to create efficiency, and we want to do more with less. And then once again, these conversations, it doesn't matter the vertical. I'm having them all the time with different types of organizations. But it was more of a junior level associate in this organization, and they were, once again, I'm not going to typecast them. They were young, which, Gen Z maybe, leaning more towards like adopting technology, but they were resistant because they were scared, obviously, of their job being taken away, but realizing, and the way I always explain it to them, you are only as valuable as your strengths, knowledge, and expertise that you have. And when you have the ability to take on superpowers, to create more with less, and that is literally the way that I like to look at AI. Your use cases only evolve as you use it more. Having conversations with whatever your tool of choice, explaining who you are, the role you're in, how you can amplify what you're doing through it, is going to give you that unlock. I understand the resistance, and oftentimes the words that I hear in these meetings, and I always like to start out by building a word cloud. I always pose the question, when you think of AI, what words come to mind? Number one, often that comes out is, guess what? Scared. I'm scared of what is possible.
So let's pause for a second. That was such a gem, right? That's like, we got paid $15,000 to a company, by a company, to come in and help them to understand that. We just gave away on the podcast, which is this. If you're in a corporate meeting and you're about to bring in the concept of AI adoption, the way to do this and have a soft landing, not a harsh landing with incredible resistance, this is an unbelievable idea, is let's bring up the topic of AI and let's have everyone do a word cloud. If you've never done this before in any kind of like an executive meeting, what you do is you basically say, when I say AI, you give me a word and I'm going to put it up on the whiteboard or the Zoom whiteboard or whatever. And let's get the emotional feelings about AI out on the table so that we can get in front of the resistance that we're about to get slapped in the face with and not understand. I'm sorry, I had to pause because this is genius stuff. 2, we get paid tens of thousands of dollars to come and teach executives this. 3, if you're an executive and you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I want to bring AI in, but I don't know what I'm doing, and I know that it's going to make my company way, way better, more profitable, operate efficiently, operate better, new capabilities, etc. We are that gap between I know I need AI and implementation. And so I'm sorry, I want to let you continue, but man, it's like such a powerful, that is an unlock. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of people out there on YouTube that'll tell you how to go put OpenClaw on a machine and how to write a prompt. We are not those people, although we can do that too, and we definitely do that for companies all over the place. But what we do is come in with the strategy, right, for government contractors on how to actually lead transformation. Because no one does that. That's why we created GovStrat. I'm sorry, Josh. Let me let you continue with the word cloud because that was such a gem.
No, and I love when you are able to latch onto that passion, because the passion comes through, and that's why you and I started GovStrat. Going back to our origin story, you as a serial entrepreneur, you believing in the power of adopting AI within the various organizations that you run and are a founder in, but understand that there's a very strong niche within the government contracting world, that it's a very competitive landscape, that there's limited opportunities out there, and by utilizing our passion of AI to bring it to that audience, that is why we started GovStrat. And at the same time, too, people are scared. And as I said, that's that word that keeps coming prominent. And my goal always at the end of my boot camps is to take you from scared to overwhelmed. There is nothing wrong with being overwhelmed when it comes to AI. Why? Because we don't know what is possible. And to me, that's what's most exciting. That whenever I hit enter, after I've done my prompt, and when I'm prompting, I'm not writing, develop a strategy for, expanding into the Midwest region, for this specific niche. That's a very, what I like to call a lazy prompt. But my prompts can sometimes be paragraphs long, explaining and phasing and scaffolding what I'm trying to accomplish. When I hit enter, I like to sit back because I don't know what I'm going to get. I know what my desired outcome is going to be, but to understand I truly have the power of anything. And as Taylor Swift has her different eras, right now my era that I'm living in is anything is possible. And that's completely true. I can build and create and ideate things that were not possible, forget 6 months ago, even like a month ago, right? We are evolving at such a rapid pace with our knowledge, skills, and expertise in this world that we can build and do whatever we need to. But when we run into those blockers in those executive boardrooms, when we come across organizations that are, listen, we know we need to use AI, but we don't know how to use it. We're hesitant about it. That's where the exciting portions really, like, where it kicks in for me, because I have to get into your shoes. I have to understand your mindset. I understand your business and make them realize it's not about wanting AI. It's about needing AI. And when you understand that need, whatever that blocker is in your organization, because I don't believe in problems, I believe in opportunities for a solution. You identify those speed bumps and you figure out either how to get over it more cautiously or figure out completely new ways to get around it. That's where the magic happens.
Oh man, it's as you said that I this thing that's completely unrelated to AI came into my head, and that's what I love about our GovStrat podcast is like, let's go sideways, right? So I have 8-year-old twins, and I was saying to my daughter yesterday, we were like, hey, where do you want to go out to eat? And my daughter is an anomaly. She's like an 84-year-old woman stuck in an 8-year-old body. And so when we want to go out to eat, she's like, no, it's too loud. I don't want to, I don't want to go out to eat here, like whatever it is. And then we go out to eat there anyway, and then she likes it and everything is good. So I said to her yesterday, I said, listen, don't bring me problems. Bring me solutions to the problem you've already thought of. I don't want to hear about your problems, and neither does anybody else in the world. And the interesting thing about this scenario, right? This scenario of you want to bring AI into your company. You know you need to bring AI into your company. Now the conversation is, if I don't bring AI into my company, my competition will, and they will beat me on unique selling proposition and competitive advantage. They will beat me on profitability. They'll do all this stuff. So where we are changing the landscape is we're saying we already know the problems that you're going to anticipate. You're going to get heavy resistance on AI adoption. You're going to literally get internal employees who are going to sabotage you, which is why outsourcing your AI strategy to GovStrat is the fastest, least expensive, most efficient path to success, because your internal people, unless you address that fear, will always fear for their job because of the unknown. Meanwhile, we understand how to have those conversations with everyone from the people answering your phones to the middle managers to your executive team to give them reassurance that no, their job isn't going away. And in some cases it will, right? We can have those difficult conversations too. But in a lot of cases, your life's going to get way better because we're going to take all those no good, rotten, ugly things that you have to do. We're going to make you better at them. And we're going to take the grunt work away, and we're going to go let AI do that. Yeah, and by the way, it's going to do that bigger, better, faster, etc. And so one of the things that we love doing is identifying those problems. But if you've ever kind of talked with one of our sales reps, you're going to find out that we offer a solution called a gap analysis and solution design. There are lots of people out there that will tell you what your problems are, right? They'll tell you where your gaps are and that you could use AI to solve for those gaps in your operating structure. If I want to know what all my problems are, I go to my therapist. We are not a therapist. We are going to bring you genuine solutions along with massive capability to implement. And for me, Josh, that statement of problems, right? I just, I resonated so hard in that conversation with my daughter last night. I said, Shelby, don't tell me the problems that you have with this restaurant. Instead say, Dad, I'd really rather eat at this other restaurant. So because it shortcuts the conversation, because then the next step in that conversation is, well, okay, twin brother Jacob, are you okay with this? And like, he's okay with everything, right? He's a boy, he eats everything, and if he's eating out versus eating at home, he's a happy camper because he gets to eat out. But just telling me you have a problem I'm not any better for it. And that's the kind of people you want to partner with, right? Those are the kinds of people that bring you closer and get stuff done. You know, your teams, your internal teams, they're going to bring you a lot of problems with AI. I got told OpenClaw is not secure. I got told you can't automate this. I got told, no, we need a $200,000 engineer to accomplish this. I said, cool, give me a task that is worthy of a $200,000 engineer. I put it into a prompt right in front of my entire executive team. It solved it faster than a guy that we're already paying $200,000 could solve it too. I mean, like literally, I literally had them bring an engineer in the meeting. I said, hey, how do I do this? He goes, I don't know, I got to go research. I said, cool, watch this. I shared my screen. I put the prompt in. Boom. I built an actual architect agent that can solve these problems, right? That has educated. We built an agent that educated themselves on how the Microsoft cloud works, right? Without getting too far into the weeds. And so there's just, you know, there will be resistance, but we can help you get through that.
Mike, such a great way to end it. There will be resistance, but we can help you through that. And that's what we do here at GovStrat. We take what you don't realize is possible and make possible. Mike, it's a pleasure as always, my friend. Have a great weekend. Look forward to next week. I already think I know next week's topic, focusing on some good stuff I was doing this week in the world of AI and automation. People don't always think about automation being driven by AI or how you can use AI to drive automation. But to me, that is a huge unlocked power. Mike, have a great weekend.
All right, you too, man. Can't wait.
Catch you next time.
See you next time.